Alright guys, it's Enrique here, welcome back to the channel, and for today's video what I want to do is essentially do a walkthrough on how to use Slack. Okay, this is going to be an in-depth Slack tutorial, but I'm going to focus on the actionable stuff. So if you run a business, whether it's a coaching business, a marketing agency, a recruitment agency, or anything like that, you can have like the one-on-one introduction so that you can start taking action, start to have effective communication with your team, with your clients, set up your digital alerts that are going to allow you to know what's happening in your business, as well as essentially focus on whatever is the most relevant for you right now as a founder. Okay, the first thing that I want to do is tell you a little bit of what I like to call the operator's principle. And what that means is that you will always want to use Slack when you're working, and you need to command this your sales team, okay? Because what is going to happen is that there's no point in using any tool whatsoever if people are not going to be using the tool. Make sense? So what we want to make sure is that regardless whether you're using Slack or something else, of course I recommend that you guys use Slack, honestly, you can actually guarantee that everybody is on the same page in regards to what tools you guys are using and that everybody lives on Slack, okay? The only exception would be during the early morning deep work sessions that I recommend for my clients, so that if you're a founder especially, you can plan the high level quarterly goals, weekly goals, monthly goals, the actual projections, the actual direction you're going with your business. But outside of that, everybody should be having Slack on all times, okay? So otherwise, nothing will make sense when we cover all of this, okay? So the first thing that I want to do, guys, and this is going to be part one of the video, is how to use Slack, okay? Because at its core, Slack is a communication platform that you can use to, of course, communicate with your internal team members and or with your clients if you're running an agency. For coaches and consultants, I think that Facebook groups or a school are a better platform for overall community building instead of Slack. But if you're running an agency, you want to have deeper communication with your clients, and that's where Slack shines, okay? Don't be the guy that uses Discord. Don't be that guy, okay? So for us though, we're going to leverage Slack to its full capabilities, meaning that we can use Slack in conjunction with other platforms to build a clean operating system that makes business easy, simple, and fun. And the beauty of Slack is that you can really combine this with, for example, Zapier. And you will see that in a second. I will show you the actual SAPs and how we actually use automations to make sure that we get everything inside of Slack. You can even use Google Drive on top of Slack. You can integrate Slack with Zoom, with Google Meet, with ClickUp, whatever it might be, okay? But before we begin with the different use cases for Slack, I'll straight up tell you, similar to how everyone should be using Zapier, I believe that everyone should be using Slack, at least to get notifications for book calls, payments, call email campaign replies, via instantly integration, etc. And we'll see more about this in part 2 of the video. But let's begin with the use cases, because the first part is about internal communication, because the most powerful yet basic way to use Slack comes down to the communication capabilities you're able to leverage. And it's critical to use different messaging platforms outside of social media, especially since what's talked about in Slack is always business related, okay? For example, you're communicating with your team on Facebook and you're having just like a Facebook Messenger thread or something like that, it's going to be madness, okay? You're going to be in for a bad time and your team is not going to be able to know what to focus on, what's important or what not, okay? So outside of the company's specific communication capabilities, Slack shines when you realize that you can decide privacy levels so that only certain people view certain conversations, which is especially important when managing VAs, setters, closers, operations, people later on, etc. Number 2, you can have both one-on-one conversations with people privately, for example, for your team members, I don't know, for a specific appointment setter, with a specific closer, with a specific editor, whatever it might be. And you can also have general conversations with your departments, meaning that you can have, for example, an appointment setting channel. You can have, for example, a book call channel where you basically have automations of the calls booked. You can also have a new leads channel where you can basically receive automations on new leads who opt in your funnels. So the point I'm trying to make here is simply make sure that you can have both privately one-on-one conversations as well as general conversations with people inside of every single department. Make sense? So that's essentially how it would look like. Now, something that I love about Slack is that you can control notifications and alerts so that you can decide what's the most relevant to you as a founder. You need to be able to know at a glance everything that is happening in your business at any given time. And if you're selling some sort of high-ticket service, whether it's a coaching or consulting or agency service, the reality is that most times you're going to sell that via sales calls, right? So one of the key things that you need to be able to measure is how many sales calls you guys are booking, right? So for example, if you go to the book calls channel, you're able to see over here that you can change channel notifications. So for example, this is something that I like to know whenever we get a book call, where the call comes from, etc. but you can see you can actually send a notification for all new messages, maybe just for mentions, maybe for nothing. And there might be other things that are more like that you don't care about. So for example, in the general chat, it's not that I don't care about the conversation, it's just that I don't want to get notified because it will distract me from my main focus. Make sense? So this is how it would look like in terms of how you can decide what to be notified about. Now this part in here is an overview on my cold email lead generation agency setup, but when I used to have one, right? So over here you can see we can have one-on-one conversation with people outside of our company, which are, for example, these clients that you see here, entire channels for different departments and different training sources depending on what's relevant at the moment. So you can see different client channels, different one-on-one conversations, account management channel, an end-of-day report channel, so on and so forth. Okay, so that's going to be part one. Part two, guys, and because this is essentially like how you can communicate at an internal level, part two is going to be for agencies specifically, everything that has to do with client communication. Okay, so if you're running an agency, you need to set up a communication channel between you / your team, for example, media buyers, account managers, etc., and your clients. Okay, because I need you to understand, guys, that email is a thing of the past when keeping up your communication with outside clients. So you'll simply use Slack connections, that's what the Slack calls them, so that your clients have private space inside of your account, which ultimately facilitates communication, action, and increases the overall perceived value of your service. What you want to do is essentially, as you can see here, every client is going to be one of these logs that you see, and it actually means that there's a private communication channel or a private communication door between your company and your client's company. Make sense? Everything that you see here with, for example, a hashtag, that's a public channel inside of your company. That way you can just move easily and freely without you having to share private data with other people. Okay, now all the channels that I have that have logs in them, like I was just saying, are private communication channels that is for clients, and those are private between the specific client and my team. Now when it comes to integration, guys, here's why I believe that Slack is one of those non-negotiable platforms that every B2B business should have, regardless of what you're selling. And it is that if you have Slack set up the right way, everything that you need you can see from here. Okay, so for example, like I was saying, you can have here the coaching call recordings, or you can have the end-of-day reports of your team members. Of course, I don't just want to get to this because otherwise I will be revealing client information. You can have, for example, a channel for opt-in, so every single time someone opts in your funnels, you can have a notification so that you can, for example, you or your sales team can immediately call the opt-in. For example, if you're running DM ads, like I do recommend, every single time you get a new lead, you get a notification and you can just go and straight up start a conversation. Same thing goes for sales reports, meaning that anybody, for example, you have a sales team, after every single call, your closers can send a report on how the call went, so on and so forth, guys. So hopefully you get how the use case goes. But let's talk about Zapier, guys, because in the Zapier training, because I'm going to be making a series just on operations and how we actually manage our licensing and management company. In the Zapier training, you will actually learn that Zapier is essentially a personal assistant that you can do even more things that you can imagine, okay? And you'll learn about the most powerful automation I use every single day, which is get a Slack channel notification and message every time someone books a call, okay? So what is going to happen is that once someone books a call on either Calendly or you get a new event on a specific calendar inside of Google Calendar, you're going to send a Slack message in Slack, okay? That said, Slack and Zapier integrations is critical to keep track of new leads through paid ad campaigns, payment received, new clients onboarded, notification, etc. And possibilities are just endless when it comes to setting up apps to start running your business. Another powerful integration that I think that everybody should be using is Zoom. So even if Slack has huddles inside as a feature, the reality is that once you start having consistent video calls with your team, there's nothing better than immediately being able to generate a new Zoom meeting by simply typing @Zoom in any channel and get everybody inside right off the bat, okay? Another example is project management softwares, okay? So whether it's Monday.com, ClickUp, Asana, Airtable, etc., Slack allows you to get notifications and alerts the way you prefer, meaning that every single time there's a task that gets assigned to you or something that you want to know that is relevant to you, you can send a direct message to a channel or to you personally. So for example, let's say that you have editors for your content and you finish recording your content piece, like a video for YouTube or whatever it might be, they can get notified natively in the project management software, of course. For example, let's say that you're using ClickUp to manage your YouTube content production pipeline or something like that. Something that you could do is, for sure, set up the actual integration so that for example, the moment that you change something from filming to editing, that the assignee changes, and now the actual person that is assigned is your editor. Okay, that's a way to do it. But the problem is that requires that people not only live on Slack, but they also live on ClickUp in this case, which is not a problem whatsoever. The point that I'm trying to make is that you can also set up an automation or an integration between, in this case, ClickUp or whatever other project management software you use to manage your workflow with Slack, meaning that the notification that they would have received on ClickUp, they can now get on Slack, meaning that they can take action on this and then move to the project management software, if that makes sense, okay? Now, when you get assigned a certain task to finish a certain process, for example, everything has to do with approvals, with reviewals, with projects, etc. So the possibilities are just endless when it comes to this, okay, guys? So this is just another example. Another example is called email campaign notification. So through the Instantly.ai's integration, you can get notified every time that you get, for example, if you're doing cold email campaigns, if you're using cold email to get customers, you can get a notification every single time that a prospect replies to one of your cold email campaigns, so that you can immediately reply, because you know how important actually replying fast is. And then from the reply that you guys have, book a meeting, and that way you can just keep track of everything. Plus, at the end of the day, you can just see how many replies you got, so that you can update your KPI trackers if you're keeping track of your KPIs like you should. Okay, so that's another way. This is how it would look like. When it comes to team training, same thing happens in here. You can, and as a matter of fact, you must create channels so that you can keep your team's focus on what they need to do. So guess what? Your prospecting BAs should spend their time prospecting. Your appointment setters should spend their time appointment setting. Your closers should spend their time closing. Your editor should spend their time editing. Makes sense? So the best way to do this by far is by simply creating channels where relevant people participate, so that you can manage them inside, while at the same time giving them the training that is needed in real time. So for example, I owned a cold email lead generation agency, like I just showed you guys in here. Hence why I had a hashtag list building channel, because I had people who were literally, their work was building lists for my campaigns and my clients' campaigns. So everything that had to do with that is talked about in that list building channel. Another example, for prospecting BAs, you want to have dedicated channels where every single day you can talk about the execution of the campaigns. So for example, if they're getting banned, how to set up the raycast automations to make the process faster, if someone is a good lead or not, all of that good jazz you can talk about in the outbound campaigns channel. So for example, you have two prospecting BAs, you don't want to be talking with person one here, person two over there, and it's just a mess. It's better just to have a specific workflow instead of a specific channel, okay? Once you have appointment setters who book calls for you, you can keep track of the conversations and make sure that they're following your process specifications in the appointment setting channel, another case, right? So realistically, here's where you will spend most of your time, as well as the sales call reports, since there are the most money-making activities, okay? AKA appointment setting and closing deals. And just to finish up, another example is the hashtag sales report channel, which you can use once you have closers for them to report on the results of every single call, as well as adding recording to every single call for you to review and give feedback. Okay, so more on this later. So for example, a closer of mine, after a call with these people on here, he can take some notes. He can actually talk about how to improve, what went well, what went wrong, so that I can actually give him some insights. And the next case would be for manual end of day reporting, guys. This is super crucial, because last but not least, one of the most powerful uses when it comes to Slack and overall team performance is the daily accountability and end of day reports that every single team member has in your business. Because everyone in your company should be making a manual end of the report to share their rate of execution on their key performance indicator, aka KPIs. So for example, this is my team in here, okay? So if you see my end of the report channel, every single team member that has any sort of involvement in the sales process is found inside of the channel, okay? Every single person you can see in here. So that actually allows for daily accountability on the achievement of results and business growth. And this is a non-negotiable. We go as far to tell our team members that if they skip this more than one day, they're out. That's essentially how it looks like. So for example, for your prospecting BAs, what is the end of the report looking like? Maybe something like this. The date, outreach made that day, replies, CRM ads, if they updated the KPI tracker, and maybe some notes for improvement. Example for appointment setters, it could be something like the date, triages booked, triages taken, sales calls booked, follow-ups made, if they updated the KPI tracker notes. Of course, the reporting criteria will change depending on your sales process. Nowadays, we just do one call close, so maybe we don't need, for example, triages booked and triages taken, just sales call booked. Make sense? An example for your closers, you can have the date, cash collected, revenue, calls taken, no-shows, reoffers, updated KPI tracker, notes, etc. Okay? So this is essentially how the end of the reports will look like. I want to now explain the non-negotiables of Slack, okay? Because for solopreneurs, these are the non-negotiable use cases you want to have for Slack specifically during the organic validation phase. You don't know about our system to scale companies. The first part is always going to be writing a foundational sales letter that you're going to validate organically through outbound prospecting. Once you actually validate that and you have cash flow, you start pouring the rest of the money in ads so that you can scale your business. That's what it is essentially. So in that organic validation phase, maybe your entire team is just going to be you and 1 or 2 BAs. That's all you need, okay? Now, here is the non-negotiables in that stage. To get channel messages every time you book a call on the book call channel, this is going to be via integrating Zapier with Slack. Number 2, for end of day reports and cold email replies if your BAs are in the organic validation phase. You need another channel for incoming payments so that you can get notified every time you get a payment and or retainer from a customer. And a hashtag cancel calls channel to immediately get notified when / if someone cancels a call. All of the effort to marketing, outbound, etc., just to have people not showing up is a mess, okay? So make sure to actually have this set up. Now, once you start running ads and building your sales team, these are the non-negotiable use cases that you're going to use Slack for, okay? So once you're not in the organic validation phase, but you're actually running ads, of course, we're going to still have the channel messages every time you book a call, cancel calls channel to immediately get notified when / if someone books a call, another one for incoming payments. You're also going to have an appointment setting to manage and train your appointment setters. You're going to have a sales reports to manage your closers and allow for closers to send post-sales quick call recordings, and a hashtag leads to get notified every time you get a new lead, specifically for the Facebook group funnel, if you're doing that, or DM ads, okay? Then, if you're having a BSL funnel, instead of having the hashtag leads, you can have hashtag leads in a separate channel that can be hashtag BSL opt-ins or hashtag opt-ins, whatever you want to call it, okay? Now, you leverage Zapier a lot for this, so we're going to cover that in the Zapier video, which is going to be a future video. But here's how you will set up some of the most common ones. So, for example, the new leads app for your hashtag new leads channel is going to be like this: Facebook leads app, connect with Slack. When new lead is achieved or you get a new lead, send private Slack channel. Okay. Now, for Stripe or for payments, what it's going to look like is you connect Stripe with Slack. So every time you get a new payment, send a private channel message, okay? So that's essentially how it would look like, guys. If you want us to license and manage our client acquisition growth systems in your business, go ahead and see how it works with a link in the description. And if you're ready just to go ahead and book a call. You're going to take the call with me or with someone in my team, and we're going to help you scale to 50, 100K per month. That said, outside of that, guys, if you like this type of content, I really want to stay here for the years to come, so I want your feedback on everything. So make sure to leave comments, like that video if you thought that it was helpful, subscribe to the channel for more. So that way you're not going to lose further videos that have to do with Zapier, Slack, Asana, ClickUp, Airtable, etc., as well as some client acquisition strategies that most people don't talk about or they don't even know about in the first place. So without further ado, guys, let's just end the video here and see you guys in the next one. Bye.